What is up, guys? Nick here from Creative Image, and today I'm going to show you guys how to achieve the Instagram look. See, a lot of photographers do this. It's otherwise known as the Sam Kolder look. Rocky Pines does it. A lot of photographers that you see on Instagram have the very similar style, I guess we'll call it. I want to show you guys how to achieve it really quick. In just one program, we're going to be using Lightroom today. So I downloaded a file from online, and let's just get right into it. Let's make this a quick video. Okay, so let's get into it. I found this image online on Google, so it's something very easy to start with. It's not one of my photos. I just like the leading lines in the pictures, and it had some pretty good base colors. So let's get right into it. We're in Lightroom Cc right now. It's the newest one out. So right now this is the library panel. We're going to go to the develop module right here, and let's get started. So in most of the pictures that you see from these photographers, the shadows are crushed a lot. It's very contrasty, very dark, but the colors seem to be that like orangey and bluish tone. So I'm going to show you guys how to achieve that rather quick without going too much in detail of making the video too long. So let's start with it. So obviously the photographer had his white balance set as he was taking the picture. It looks really nice. Overall, the tones are very nice to begin with. So it's too bright for me right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it down a little bit. And we're going to leave the contrast at about 4, somewhere around there. Nothing too crazy. And this is what we're going to do is we're going to boost the shadows. We're going to boost the highlights up. We're going to drop the shadows. We're going to crush them. We're going to make it really, really dark. And then the whites I want to bring up, as well as the blacks. And then this varies on the image you're using. Obviously this photo was taken in a bright sunny day. Obviously not many clouds in the sky as you could see in the picture. But it depends on the area you're in. If you're shooting landscapes, if you're shooting portraits, it all varies in each picture. So the picture here is very, I'd say it's a little on the cooler side. So I do want to push it towards the warmer side. That's just my personal preference. It's whatever you choose. And then clarity, if you're shooting landscapes or architectural pictures, clarity isn't really an important, it's pretty much preference. So if you want a softer look, you lower the clarity. If you want more of that poppy look, you could raise it. This picture I think is pretty perfect as to where it is right now. And with vibrance and saturation, many people go over this as to what it is. It's kind of hard to explain without doing it. So the way I can explain it is vibrance is the amount of color within it, I guess we'll say, because if you drop them, obviously it'll reduce the saturation, but if you bring it up, it won't really blast the colors out. And then saturation obviously is the actual colors, so all the yellows that you see in the picture are drastically changing, all the blues are drastically changing, and then obviously when you bring the saturation down, it sucks the color out of the image. So what we're going to do is I want to drop the vibrance to about 10 to 15 just to kind of take some of the colors out and dull it. But what I want to do is I want to put a little bit of the color back in by raising the saturation. So I'm going to keep the saturation at about 5 because I do want the tans and the grays to be a little muted and then have very little bit of color. As you can see here in the bricks, the yellow paint on the walls, excuse me, and then a little bit of the color of the shirts and the signs. So now coming down here is when you have your Lightroom open, it may look like this down here in your tone curve, excuse me, or it could look like this closed here. So what you're going to do is you're going to open your tone curve, and inside this tone curve here, you can manually adjust with the sliders here, and it'll adjust your highlights, it'll adjust your lights, it'll adjust your darks and your shadows. It's all personal preference on how you do this. Sometimes I do enjoy using this way, but to get that that Sam Kolder look. I like doing it manually this way. To get to this menu, all you gotta do is click this little line graph here, click it and it'll close, and you can manually select on the graph where you want to adjust. So I'm gonna select the 3 points, the shadows, midtones, highlights, and what you're gonna start with is crushing your right here. It's your blacks, and as you can see, as you go up here, it kind of gets that faded. You could see in the bottom right corner of the image, my blacks go from a really, really dark to kind of a muted gray. And the higher you go, obviously you clip here and it gives you that faded look, which for some images might work, but this one not really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it here, and then you're going to come over here to your highlights, and you're going to bring them down. So as you can see, look in the sky as I'm adjusting this. This is the really white, and we're going to bring it down. And this is the opposite of it crushed, so it kind of gives it that really washed out look. But we don't want that much. We want somewhere in between. So I'm going to put it right about there. And that's very, very white, as you can see in all the highlights. And then here you come and you adjust these accordingly as to what the image is. So I like bringing this down. I like bringing this down also. My computer's running so many things, so it's a little slow. And I bring that down as well. And this one's a little too... I'm not crazy about that. I like that. And then obviously, after you do the adjustment on the tone curve, you could come back up here and adjust your highlights. If you think you have too much highlights, you could bring it back down. Your whites, obviously, if you think you have too much, bring it down as well. And then to the next option here is your Hue Saturation Luminance, color, black and white. So we're going to start with Hue Hsl, or Hue Saturation Luminance. And what this does is it allows you to adjust each of the colors inside of the picture. So obviously here you see yellow. If you want to adjust your yellows, you can adjust it in the picture. But remember that just because this is yellow doesn't mean that there's not yellow in these grays and these tans. So if you do need to figure out what the exact color is that you're looking for, you click this object right here, and as you come over an item, so like this yellow will tell me that it's the yellow slider over here. Come here, the blue is the blue slider, obviously, and then you could keep moving it around. You got some aquas. This is orange, obviously blue, aquas, stuff like that is the way I figure out what each color is. So for the quote-unquote Sam Kolder effect, he has those very turquoisey skies that a lot of you guys see. So we'll find here that it is the blue slider here to adjust that. So to get the sky more aqua-y, I don't even know if that's a real word, but whatever. You take it and you can adjust the skies like this, and you see how it went from a regular blue to like an aqua-y color, and then you can adjust whatever you want. I like to crush the greens before I even start anything. So crush the greens, and then obviously the sky, you want that little bit of aqua look. And then you could come in here if you want to adjust your oranges, your reds, you could do that as well. It's all personal preference. I don't really like the green tint to it, so I'm gonna take a little bit out of the yellows like that. The red, kind of want to mute it a little bit. So there you go, made it a little orangey. And then purples and magentas are pretty, it's not many of them in the picture. Let me speak English here. All right, so let's go to the saturation, which is the next panel over. You click this right here, and obviously, as you guys all know, saturation is the amount of opacity, I guess we'll say, added to the color. So the lower to the left you go, the less of the color there is. It'll be a black and white. The higher you go, obviously, is the more color being pumped into the image. So as you guys see here, for the blue, if I wanted to black and white the sky, look, I dropped the luminance, and it's a grayscale. Then if you want to bring it up and make it pop, which looks really bad, don't do that. You bring it to the right. So it's all personal preference when it comes to this section of saturation. It's all on how you want your image to look. So if you want your reds a little high, your oranges, I kind of want to dim down a little bit. The yellows, it's very, very, very poppy, and I'm not too... I like more of that muted look, but once again, that's all personal preference. And then the sky, if you want to adjust it, put a little bit of that in there. And then, like I said earlier, there's not much purple and magenta inside the picture. And then luminance, you don't really use to achieve this effect. If you guys want to play around in here, you can. Like I said, all it is just going through each of the tabs and playing with it. So a little before and after of the Hsl is before, after, before, after. And as you guys can see, the way it's looking right now is it's pretty different. So what I want to do is, I still have like a really dark blue here that I don't like. So I want to adjust the aqua setting. I want to get it a little more of that aqua color. Okay, so here it is, before, and after, and you could see just with that alone, it kind of makes a whole big difference to it. So we can minimize that, and we'll minimize the tone curve. Wow, I can't speak today. The next box we're gonna go into is split toning, and like I said earlier in the video, it's that orange. It's like the highlights are very blue, and the shadows are very orange. And the majority of this effect is done with split toning. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it. So like I said, the highlights are blue. You could come up here and click this one right here, or you can manually select here what kind of blue you want. Do you want a darker? Do you want an aqua? Do you want navy? It's all personal preference, like I said, but for the sake of this image, we're going to make it nice and easy. So there's the blue. And what I like to do before I adjust any of the saturation or any of that stuff, I like making my shadows orange already. So I'll show you guys how it's done. So obviously this is really drastic, but like I said, this is the image that you're looking for. It's the blue highlights and the orangey yellow shadows. So now that the two are in effect right now, and one set to 59 and one set to 65 on the saturation, now you could come down and you just want a little bit of the effect on there. You don't want it too blown out. So before and after, it's very, very, very subtle. It's all how you want it to look. So you keep playing with it till you get the look that you want. Like I said, it's all based on how you adjust the tone and the tint of your picture prior to editing. So before and after, before and after. You see a little bit more inside of the shadows. You get that orangey look, and then obviously the sky is very aqua-esque. Sharpening. On an architecture picture or a landscape, I like to throw a little bit of sharpening. I don't go crazy. Anywhere between 10 and 15. So we got 10 and 15. Noise reduction I always put on, depending on the time of day. Obviously this was shot in broad daylight, so it was probably shot at an ISO of 100. So I'll put a little bit on. I'll probably put about 10 just to sharpen things up a little bit. You got this guy in here. I have so many programs running, it's not even going to load. Okay, and lens correction, I'm obviously not going to touch for this image because there's no zooming in. The post-crop vignetting, I am going to put a little bit of a vignette on it just to kind of invite us in to the picture. So I'm going to put 10 or 11, whatever is good enough. And that is that. Camera calibration, I'm not going to touch. And that is it for the adjusting of sliders and stuff like that. Now, this is the overall effect. I'm going to show you guys the before, which is this, very bright and blown out. And then this is the after. All with very, very little Lightroom adjustments, just using the basic stuff that's here provided. So that's that. Now obviously you could come into the picture more and you can add you could put like adjust the temperature of adjusting the exposures down at the bottom to invite you more into the picture. So we're gonna put a graduated filter there. We'll put another one here. That's nice. put a little bit here. Do a little negative exposure here to make the bottom of the image darker and invite you more into the picture. We have the street being a leading line, so why not use it to our benefit here to invite you into the picture. So as you can see in the left, the middle, and the bottom right hand corner, it's darker now, and then closer to the middle of the street it's a lot brighter. And what you can do is to make it brighter over here, as you could see it's naturally, you come in here with your brush, your exposure brush, and make your brush a little bigger. Obviously this is very drastic. I'm going to adjust it as I go. One stop up is way too much. I'll put it at 11 and adjust the highlights a little bit. You want your picture to look as natural as possible. You don't want to exaggerate it too much, but you want your picture to be inviting. So I'll adjust the exposure. I'll play with the temperature a little bit and the tint, and I'll make over here, obviously there's no sun flare here, but I do want to adjust the temperature of the image. So I did the mask just to show you what's being painted, and then you hit O to hide the mask, and obviously that's way too much orange. Bring it down a little bit. I'm just exaggerating so you guys see the actual image. And there you have it. So here's the final product. It's a Sam Kolder effect. A lot of people are calling it, like I said, a lot of photographers are using this effect where they crush their shadows, and it's very contrasty, very bluish and yellow and orange. It's very, very muted. It's all based on tones, which I really like in an image because it draws you into the image. You see this picture on Instagram, obviously you're going to click like when you see it, compared to this, where it's just a natural picture, someone standing in the middle of the street, or that. I mean, which one are you going to like? It's all personal preference, but this is more intriguing and invites you into the picture. So I hope you guys liked this tutorial. I want to do a lot more of these, and I want to do a lot more manipulation stuff. I'm going to do a whole series on that. So I hope you guys really like this. And I'm going to do a couple different styles. You'll see a lot of nature stuff. I do want to start shooting more. I want to do a lot more stuff with you guys and show you guys a lot more informative stuff that any beginner can do, intermediate, or even someone who's a professional can learn from. Because with Lightroom and Photoshop, there's infinite knowledge to be learned about Photoshop and Lightroom. You never fully understand a full program in depth, like every single option. What does this do? What does that do? And even I am still learning. I have a degree in Lightroom and Photoshop, graphic design and advertising, and I still don't know half of the stuff that there is to each of these programs. I'm always learning how to do different things, how to achieve different effects, and it's cool. So I want to help you guys learn and inform you guys of all these new tips and tricks, and I hope you guys really like it. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and I can't wait to put more of this footage out for you guys. Peace.